A lot of kids have struggled with anxiety and fear during the pandemic. And one of the core mindset skills that our wisdom coaches helped kids develop is learning that our emotions come from our thoughts and that our thoughts can be identified and changed to thoughts that support us. Watch this video and hear how wisdom coach Ina shares how she helped one little boy shift his feelings from anxiety to feeling more relaxed. Meet wisdom coach Ina Neal.
Thank you. This has been so far such an amazing experience. Thank you for creating it. Thank you for Renee for creating this incredible curriculum and program. It's changed my life. Being here on this panel, even though I'm at the bottom of the world in New Zealand, like Karen said, I can tell that are all in this together. That the stories around what COVID has brought into our lives is not very different in any way. And what I noticed with children and families as well and their parents is that a lot of the parents that were coming to me for support around what was going on with their children, those challenges were already there. They were already existing, but because we were so busy in our lives, trying to be normal, trying to just do that everyday thing that we would normally do, COVID brought up it a lot more intensely. And so children that were already experiencing, anxiety, but they were getting by, all of a sudden it exploded. Children that were feeling low self-esteem and possibly having challenges with their friends at school, we were just saying, oh, that's just the way that children are. All of a sudden it was much bigger, where children didn't want to go on camera when they were doing homework within their small group classes. And so what I did, like I said, what I noticed is that it brought up all of the big emotions and big feelings and big behaviors so that we can see them, so that we can actually begin to heal them or manage them, whatever that looks like. So yeah, I like Karen shared, I work a lot with breath work and EFT tapping. I also do a lot of trauma work as well. And the number one thing, and I believe one of the coaches had shared here, the number one thing that I keep seeing is that if children are not feeling safe, they're not going to learn. They're not going to learn academically, and they're also not going to learn how to manage their own emotions. And so one of the things that I bring into my coaching with Adventures in Wisdom, which is why I love Adventures in Wisdom so much, is because it gives us the opportunity to bring in our own unique gifts as coaches, what inspires us, what we see in the world that's needed, into this incredible program. And it helps us to fuse the way that we communicate with the children and with their parents. And so what I do as well is, for example, I run 6-week courses throughout the year. When we're not in lockdown, they're in person. And when we're in lockdown, they're online. And I have to say that I've run them online in 2020. And I've run them online now in 2021, and they have been equally impactful for the children. What I also bring into the 6-week course is another separate session, which is I call the 7th session, where I actually have a coaching call with the parents. So all the children that I work with within the program, I also have a session with the parents. So we do the practical work where I teach them what their children are receiving. So, all the workbooks. I don't necessarily share the stories with them, but I share how the stories impact, and I share with them when to use the skills and when not to use the skills. So simple example is, often when parents go into their own fight or flight fear response, if a child is having a behavior or emotional kind of breakdown, they tend to throw the skill or the course. What did you learn with Ina? And that's when I say, don't use the skill then. Schedule out space and time when you can, even if it's for 5 minutes, and let your children be the teachers, because you were not in the course. They know around this particular skill a little bit more than you do. Allow them to be your teachers. So we do a lot of that work within that core, within that coaching call. And I also open up about half an hour to 45 minutes of just open coaching and open discussions and how they can keep supporting their children. And I find that in particular is very, very powerful. And I just want to share a couple of incredible success stories, but I want to share something a parent had said to me around this last virtual coaching that I did. I usually do the parenting coaching call halfway through the 6 weeks. So it kind of gives everyone an opportunity to kind of come into and become, comfortable in what it is that we're doing. And one of the parents had said, because we're in lockdown, he's been the teacher for his children, the homeschooler for his children. And his daughter, who has been in the course, he said, just after the second, I believe it was the second week of coaching, he said, I just want to say that I cannot believe how quick this works. He said that his daughter, who he's been working with at home with, academic studies, every time she reaches a moment where she doesn't know something, she just has this big meltdown around how, she's not good enough, she can't get it, she can't do the work. And of course, here she is not feeling safe within herself, and not feeling safe in her, in doing the work. She's obviously not receiving any of the information. And he said, I couldn't believe it. I was doing work with her just yesterday. And as we were going through the math problem, and it's a problem that we've approached many times where she just didn't want to go back to it, I just observed her and watched her pause, take a deep breath. She said it seemed like she was being very present and aware of what was going on internally for her. And within about 30 seconds, she said, okay, I'm ready now. And that was extremely powerful share that I was celebrating him and her ability to be able to go internally and notice that everything that she needs, she has within her. We as coaches are just giving them the skills and tools through Adventures in Wisdom, as well as our unique way of sharing it, that they have everything that they need within them. We just get to hold that space for them and let it come out gently through the beautiful stories, through the skills that we do. So that was a really powerful experience that I had just, a little while ago. Another story that I would love to share is a mom had messaged me when I was starting again this 6-week course. And she said, I have a lot of anxiety in my life. And now I'm noticing that my son, he's 9 years old, I believe, is having that as well. And she had this great fear about him living his life in the way that she's lived her life, because she's had challenges, like I said, with anxiety and not really having the tools in her life. And so she reached out to me and shared this with me. And I said, well, let's bring him into the course. And she said, oh no, but wait, he's got soccer on that day. Now, this is before we went into lockdown. So it was supposed to be in person. She said, I don't think he's going to want to do it. And I said, look, our children have the wisdom within them. I said, why don't you ask him? What would he like to do? She came back to me within probably the hour and she said, oh my goodness, he would rather miss soccer, something that he absolutely loves, and come on this course because he wants to heal this part of him. He wants to get to know who he is. And that was, again, very empowering, because we tend to project what we think our children are going to say or do or respond in. And when we pause and let them choose and give them that space and that opportunity, they're going to get to choose what works for him. And we finished the course now. And I actually asked him, it was just this last week that we finished. And I said, how have you been? And he said, I've been so much more relaxed in my life. And here we are still in the midst of, lockdown and, with everything that's going on with life, also just bringing in the, the fear that the vaccine is also bringing into our conversations and our children hearing it. So with all of that still, he's been feeling calmer. So finding that power within himself. And just to share, one of the things that we did, often we don't think that that particular skill or story is going to support in that. But it was around your reticular activating system, right? So what we tell our minds is what is what we're going to receive and we're going to look for in our lives. So his realization about realizing that I've been telling myself stories that I'm not safe, that I'm worried about fear, that I'm worried about COVID, that I'm worried about what's going on or the future of the unknown. He started to realize that, oh, these are my stories. And what do I want to tell my brain? And I shared it in a very simple way. When we came online, I had pulled up a list, a surprise list to them, and I had them. So on the list was, say, a blue heart, or a yellow flower, purple truck. And I had them go off and do this treasure hunt in their home and bring back you had to see them. They were incredible. All these kids were bringing back handfuls of all of these things. And I remember this little boy he said, I had this heart sitting in my room for a really long time, and I never actually noticed that it was there. And so giving them that awareness in the stories, in their ability to share their own stories and how that relates to them, and also each activity that they do, even though it may not look like it is completely related to what they're experiencing. Our children have so much wisdom within them. They can connect their ability right away with what they're doing in this moment, as long as they're given that space and that awareness on how that can support and serve them. So I just wanted to say thank you for this space, for this opportunity, and for letting me share. And thank you to all of you for doing the work in the world.
Do you want to learn how you can help kids too? Just visit adventuresinwisdom.com, and there you can sign up for a free coaching story and learn how you can get started as a life coach for kids.